And welcome back to this week's edition of the Steele Report. As you can see, KWWL political analyst Dr. Chris Larimer of the University of Northern Iowa joins us right now. As Chris, of course, is the professor of political science and the coordinator for the Master of Public Policy program at UNI. And Chris, all I can say is, what a week. What was going through your mind when you saw what was happening at the Capitol on Wednesday? That was just historic in nature and really a very, very sad day in many ways.
Yeah, it was sad, awful, surreal, just to watch what happened, to see how that unfolded, beginning, with the, you had the day starting off with the ceremony of counting officially ratifying the electoral votes in Congress, and then to see the day end the way it did was just really sad.
And we know we're taping this on a Thursday, so we don't really know what's going to happen, but there's an awful lot of talk right now about invoking the use of the 25th Amendment. I noticed on Thursday, Senator Schumer was calling for the immediate removal of office of the president. So as you look at that, what's going on? What's going through your mind?
Well, yeah, we've heard Senator Schumer's call for this. Speaker Pelosi has also come out and said that she would like to see the 25th Amendment invoked. I think it just reflects where we are in the sequence of events of what happened on Wednesday. That, you had the president out early in the day, speaking to his supporters, telling his supporters to go to the Capitol, to, demand, in his words, a fix to what he calls a rigged or stolen election, and that the country was stolen, and it obviously got out of control. And so I think while on the one hand, we know that within the electorate, there was an increase in the level of polarization over the last 5 to 10 years, and that had really come to a head over the last couple of years. But never before had we had a president who was really willing to, at least in modern presidential history, really willing to stoke that polarization to the point of, to the point of where we saw violence occur on Wednesday. So, there was already frustration within the electorate, but after elections, we've had presidents who are willing to accept the results and move on. There was that window for President Trump from Election Day until December 14th, when the states certified their slates of electors, for the president to talk differently about the election results, to try to bring the country together. He chose to go the other direction, and unfortunately, we saw what happens when you do that, right? We know that voters take their cues from elected leaders. And so if they are hearing their president say these things about going to Capitol, about demanding, in his words, justice for, as I said, for what he calls a stolen election, because the president is saying it, there's a chance that his supporters are going to view that as legitimate, and there are consequences to that.
One thing that really struck me on Wednesday, Chris, was the fact that Senator ChuckGrassley was being escorted out of the Senate chamber by FBI, Secret Service, whoever happened to be there in law enforcement. That was a really touching moment to me. Think about him. He's the Senate pro tem. That means he's third in line for the presidency. That was quite a remarkable scene, I thought.
It was remarkable, and it speaks to how significant and serious that situation was on Wednesday. At that point that you had serious concerns about individual members of Congress, serious concerns about the leadership within Congress that related to the line of succession for the presidency of Congress. That's the point we got to on Wednesday.
And now you have even key senators like Lindsey Graham and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying, enough is enough. So when you have key Republicans like that saying that, that something's got to give here. Yeah,
you do. And again, I think it's for a lot of people, they would say that those words or those statements from Senator McConnell or from Senator Graham, those would have been useful earlier, before Wednesday, to particularly at least after December 14th, when the states certified their slates of electors. That would have been a time to say, okay, enough is enough. We need to come together and move on.
All right, yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Definitely historic developments in Washington, D.C. this week. And also, we had Rita Hart on the program last week, the Democratic challenger in the 2nd District. And the winner of that race, at least at this point, Dr. Marionette Miller-Meeks, has been sworn in. How do you see her challenge, Rita Hart's challenge, going forward in the House?
Well, I think, right now it looks like because Speaker Pelosi has come out and said that she's going to seat Marionette Miller Meeks, I think for Rita Hart, it's a tough challenge ahead. Unless there would be something unusual that would change, I think it's a difficult challenge for her. Now, obviously, the results of the election have shifted several times from Election Day until, a couple of weeks ago, but that Speaker Pelosi has come out and said that Marionette Miller Meeks will be seated for the 2nd Congressional District in Iowa. I think that presents a challenge for Rita Hart moving forward.
Yeah, the House itself, that committee, administrative committee in the House itself, really has not changed many elections over the years. I think only 3 times where they went in favor of the one who has come forward to challenge. But Rita Hart maintains there are 22 votes that she believes should have been counted, right?
That's right, and again, it would be up to the House Administrative Committee to actually review the election and say that those votes should be counted, and that would be a significant step to actually essentially intervene in the counting of the results, even though the state of Iowa has certified the results of the election for Marionette Miller Meeks by those 6 votes.
We're going to take a short break here on the Steele Report. Our programs are online, as always, on KWWL.com. We'll come back and talk more with KWWL political analyst Dr. Chris Larimer of UNI in just a moment. So welcome back to our final segment of the Steele Report for this week with KWWL political analyst Dr. Chris Larimer. The legislative session is getting underway tomorrow. The governor will be giving the condition of the state address this week. So, Chris, as you look forward, what do you think is going to be the top priority for the Iowa legislature as we move forward into a new year?
Well, I think everything starts with the pandemic and the vaccination program or the vaccination release within the state. I think we've seen some from polls that voters are looking for a plan from their state's governors about how they're going to work through the next several months in terms of getting through this crisis. And so I think for Governor Reynolds and for Republicans in the state legislature who still have unified control of the state legislature, that is the number one issue because it affects the state's economy. There are obviously budget implications, and that has implications for the governor's agenda and for Republicans in the state legislature who control both the Iowa House and the Iowa Senate. That has significant implications for how far or how much they want to do in terms of advancing particular public policies. So I think number one is the pandemic. Related to that, just finding or at least having a solid understanding of where Iowa's budget situation is. The Revenue Estimating Conference met in December, and the projections for fiscal year 2022, which will begin July 1st of this year, are relatively good. About 3.7% growth is the projection right now. How do they balance everything that's going on with the pandemic, the economic conditions of that, the budget implications of that, with what are they trying to finish up with their conservative agenda? Because they've pushed really hard the last 5 years on a pretty Republican or very conservative agenda relating to gun rights, abortion rights, and tax cuts. There's a question about what's left on their agenda. What else do they want to do? Because the pandemic's kind of looming large over everything, you wonder how much wiggle room they have there, but I still expect them to push hard again on even more tax cuts. Like I said, I would still expect some movement on an abortion amendment from Republicans in the state legislature, and then also, again, pushing rural broadband issue or some other issues. What they're looking to do is try to balance what's happening with the pandemic and the rollout of the vaccination program in the state of Iowa, as well as whatever they want to accomplish in terms of public policy relating to their agenda, because this will be year 5 where Republicans have had unified control of state government in Iowa. And so if there are any remaining policy items that they want to push, this would be the year to do it, because next year is an election year, and obviously Governor Reynolds is going to be on the ballot in 2022. And so if she's looking to have any sort of significant policy achievement to run on, if there are any remaining policies that she wants to run on in 2022, this would be the year to get it done.
I was going to say, do you anticipate that the governor's condition of the state message will focus a little bit on what she has accomplished already, kind of setting it up for her run to become governor again, if obviously she's going to be on the ballot next year? So what do you expect out of the condition of the state?
Yeah, I do think that will be part of it. And for governor's condition of the state addresses, credit taking is always part of that speech. But again, for her, I think part of it also is providing more justification or an understanding for Iowans and well as state legislators about what she has done related to the pandemic and what pandemic relief has looked like, why she's made the decisions she has. But then also, as you said, setting up for 2022, talking about the things she's done. In previous condition of the state addresses for Governor Reynolds, she has talked a lot about tax cuts. We've heard a lot about rural broadband issues and expanding that in Iowa. But she's also made a point of talking a lot about more socially conservative issues like abortion. Last year's condition of the state address, she mentioned constitutional amendments for the restoration of felons' voting rights, but also a constitutional amendment to restrict abortion in the state of Iowa. And so I would expect that rhetoric to continue. But again, I think number one for her is going to be the pandemic. And I think if she's going to try to use the condition of the state address to talk about how the decisions that she's made in her administration, in their opinion, how they've steered Iowa through the pandemic.
As always, a great big thanks to Dr. Chris Larimer of UNI for his great political insights. That's it for this week, unfortunately. Check out our recent shows, as always, on KWWL.com. Just find the Watch tab, head on down to the Steele Report, and there you will find all of our recent programs. See you next week. Thanks for watching.